Hey guys, this is Tunito Forever with the second podcast of the season and of the channel. And we already got things started as of last night with a few games already going down to kick off the season. A few other preseason things to look at for Sundays and some pretty unexpected transfers as well. So anyway, last night, we got things started. Not anything surprising. So we got like Tijuana in Club America, tying up at 0, no big deal there. Atlas getting the win over Puebla. Puebla that, it's going through a rough time, a lack of identity. I don't see good things from Puebla this season. Um, and Juarez getting the best of Mazatlan in what is most likely Mazatlan's farewell season. With all the rumors circulating, we've all been there as San Luis fans. I pretty much think it's the end of Mazatlan here, but um, so anyway, some things for San Luis, the San Luis side. We already have some two pretty big unexpected transfers. Um, Along with another one that's, some transfers that I think, especially the incoming transfers, that I think are fine. Might get criticized for that, but one of the things is that we know the man, the true nine, the striker up top, Joao Pedro, hands down. Uh, going to be the starter for the season, the best nine there is in San Luis, and top three, top five in Mexico altogether. Uh, However, what we never really found out with San Luis is having like that backup, uh, that true backup off the bench as a nine, if need be. Hopefully not, in case of injury for Joao or anything like a rough game for Joao, someone to come off hot off the bench. But we haven't really had that true nine. I know we've tried things like Benjamin Galdames at nine, Klimovic at nine, things like that. But none of them really, I wouldn't say, stand out particularly at nine. Like I've said before, Klimovic as a false nine is better suited for that role, attacking mid. Same for Benjamin Galdames, where it's best to have him on the right side of the midfield. But yeah, number net true nine, we have two coming in now. So first off, we have Leo Flores coming in from Tigres on loan, which is fine, because sometimes these players get caught up in the Tigres vortex where they just do not come out. They don't get the playing time. They simply go to waste. There is no upward trajectory whatsoever, no progress being made. So totally fine with that. And another one that's mostly being talked about, Santiago Munoz from Santos coming in. And this is a guy that made a few statements, down at the youth level for the Mexican national team, but never quite got to that level in the first division of Mexico, or even out in MLS while he was out and on loan. Very limited, not quite at the level that everyone was expecting to see him at. But again, another pickup for San Luis, another option off the bench for San Luis that, in my opinion, was lacking. And seeing that this guy, has potential, hasn't been able to show it, but we know he has it in him. I think this is a good pickup, especially as a loan option. We're not breaking the bank here. We're going to have a guy that can make moves off the bench. We know he can. And I think this is where he'll get the best opportunity. He's not going to be starting over Joao. No way. And I also believe he can also come up like off the right wing as well. But yeah, wouldn't hurt to have him as an option. And along with that, to keep the transfers going, the big one that I saw coming, but I'm don't necessarily agree with, is the departure of Rodrigo Dourado to America. So reuniting with Jardine. Um, Rodrigo Dourado been at San Luis for years now. uh, cycling in and out as captain, very, very much the backbone of the squad. Uh, a total menace in the midfield, especially as a central defensive mid. I think is his best spot, and he's been pairing up very well with Oscar Macias lately. Um, well, he was, but the past season or so, you notice he hasn't had that captain's armband, and he hasn't even been starting. Um, very limited play time as well for Rodrigo Dourado. Rodrigo Dourado is just we saw it coming. I mean, this is someone that we can't say for sure. We can only speculate. But I'm assuming there was something wrong going on there between him and Guillermo Abascal, possibly not to Guillermo Abascal's liking. And we'll get to Guilla in a bit, because I think this does tie into a few statements he made during the off season. But it's a guy that I don't think fit his scheme. I think Guilla is looking for someone with a little more versatility in the midfield, like Oscar Macias. Dourado is better suited as a defensive brick wall. He's not going to be making long passes towards the attacking third. He's not going to be taking control. He's not going to be scoring bangers outside the box every time. This is a guy that has the fundamentals down and can execute them throughout most of the games without any issues. This is a guy that physically can pair up with any of the midfielders across the Guayamakis. He'll hold down the fort defensively, for sure. And I don't think that's what he's looking for. And not only that, but we've seen that the transfer fee that they're talking about so far, somewhere around 1 million to 1.5 million. So, for who he is to San Luis and what he can do, 1 to 1.5 million. I know he's not exactly young, but I feel we're getting the short end of the stick here. Because he certainly means a lot more to San Luis, can do more for San Luis than he can for America, in my opinion. And we know he was, at the youth level, at the Brazilian national, and Olympic level, we've seen what he can do. When he is a relative unknown in Brazil, but he made his name here at San Luis, in my opinion. This is where he really shined. I remember his first season, he got off to a rocky start, but he really made a name for himself. One of the well-known names out of San Luis for the past few years, and now he's gone, just like that. And I don't necessarily agree with it. I saw it coming. I can see why, but yeah, I am not thrilled about this move. But again, we could see a totally different restructuring. And like I said before, Guillermo Abascal made some statements relating to that. And he appeared on Faitelsen's show on Tuesday, Faitelsen Sin Censura. And he's got a whole interview in Spanish, which I'll basically, kind of condense and translate for you guys. And he basically, he's asked, what do you think about the league? What do you think about the structure? Things like that. And he says, it's a very different league than I'm used to. It's a fast league. It's much shorter. It's, you're more dependent on streaks. Winning streaks or losing streaks can really make or break your season. In Europe, no one's really used to the short season format, and there's just a bigger pressure to get those results because of the short season format, and they're pressured to really get that win in the postseason, and that's just something that a lot of players are not used to. But that it's just a league, we've heard it every time from lots of foreign managers. It's a league that does not allow long-term projects. And, you know, long-term, we want to talk about long-term. Um, During his tenure here, let's, evaluate him just on what he's done here during his short stay so far. 7 wins, a draw, 12 defeats in all official games. Not exactly up to where we would like, and missing out on Liga, you know. Um, and, this could also, like I said, Dourado's departure is the beginning of just like a sort of restructuring of San Luis to the liking of Abascal. And I think Abascal has let the front office know, hey, I have this plan, but you're going to have to be patient. And if you're patient, the reward will be huge. And this better be a huge reward, I'm telling you, because this is not going well so far. We saw last season the fans literally asking for this guy's head. He's on the chopping block to start off the season. And a very, very tough test in the beginning to start things off because he will be facing Tigres. He'll be facing Tigres just to start off the season. So, you're talking about guys like, from some of the rumors I've seen on sites like Medio Tiempo and things like that, Guido Pizarro is looking to give some guys some time on the bench to start off the season, just to give them a little bit of extra rest, like, Juan Purata, for example, and Nico Ibanez, who we've all know and love, Antuna, who's, kind of fallen from grace, but, we'll still see guys like, Joaquin, Osvaldo Rodriguez, Nahuel Guzman, so Marcelo Flores as well, who, hasn't made that impact quite either, but is still in that starting discussion for Tigres. And this is still a strong squad. This is the runner-up of last season. This is not going to be an easy task. And to avoid total embarrassment, I think, would be a start. To get a draw would be a huge start to the season, in my opinion. A win will give them some real breathing room. But like I said, these guys aren't really pulling punches. Technically, they are, but still a tough task, nonetheless, from what we've seen. And it's some more lighthearted news that we've seen so far. Well, not so lighthearted if you've actually seen it. Charlie coming out with the new kits for Atlético San Luis. And just look these things up. I mean, you'll see them tomorrow or Sunday. Actually, yeah, Sunday. For San Luis's opening match. 2 very, I guess, okay kits. We're not seeing the return of the blue and gold here, which, already crossed me off the shopping list because if it's not blue and gold, I'm not buying it. But anyway, if the red and white's fine. I have a few of those from a few years ago. I don't buy any more current red and whites, but we have an away kit that's, if you can look them up online, under Twitter, under social media. But we have their away kit, which is just like a black jersey with red, white, and green adornments on the cuffs of the sleeve, and green and red sort of striped, two longer stripes, vertical stripes going through the jersey, kind of stylized in an airbrush or paintbrush sort of way, but nothing to write home about here. It's a very standard looking jersey. And then the one that, we have the home jersey. Of course, they're opting for the collar. Again, blue and gold, cuffs on the sleeves, which it's not going to really sell me on it. Red and white stripes, pretty standard. Kind of have like a geometric pattern to them. But year after year, we're getting more and more of these ads. And just look it up yourself. This is ridiculous. This is like Central American level. We might as well be playing in Honduras or something with a jersey like that. This is next level stuff. It's getting pretty out of hand here. So hopefully, I get it. We need the cash. But the product on the field isn't reflective of, big investments and things like that. It's just not something that's convinced me quite there yet. But as far as the opening day itself, yeah, like I said, a tie will be good news for San Luis. A tie will, it'll be best, but fingers crossed, hopeful thinking, but yeah. And some more lighthearted news as far as San Luis goes. Um, you know, one of the articles that I've seen, people are talking about uh the prices of tickets for America against San Luis at the Azteca. Um, and it seems like they're charging, 150 pesos, $7 or so for the cheapest, and the most expensive going up to 80 pesos, $40 or something. And this tells you a lot about what they think, you know. Because it's not only just America, but the opponent obviously will have to do a lot with how many people show up at the stadium. So America, of course, coming off a disappointing season, as far as their expectations go. But San Luis is just not seen um up to snuff. It's just seen as a very low level, even more than usual, I believe, with those prices, low level, um, unexciting sort of matchup, run of the mill. Uh, but that tells you what other clubs think so far, and I think you can kind of gain I want to say an estimate of what other fans think about San Luis for this season. Absolutely no one is talking about this club. Um, and those ticket prices reflect that. The outside fans, Juarez with their win against Mazatlan, their performance last season. That's the club that more people are talking about. Mazatlan getting headlines because of all the rumors going wrong, not necessarily because of what's happening, what they expect from the club, but San Luis is buried, absolutely buried, not talked about. And, of course we have Querétaro, uh, getting some notoriety as well. The new ownership group stepping in, and these are our main rivals. These are guys making moves. So all these things going on, smaller clubs getting new investment, new facelifts, while San Luis is kind of stagnating. And let me remind you, San Luis had a 10-year deal with Atletico Madrid. And that's not too far from now. It might not seem like it, but it's not far from now at all. We're coming up only 2 years before 2018. So to the front office of San Luis, this is their moment. They have to really step it up. Because if not, you're gonna get buried in the headlines. You're gonna get buried in, uh, basically popularity, existence. It's just going to be seen as like another bottom tier club. How things are going down at Puebla. And I know last season was disappointing, but it's not quite to that level yet. And I could definitely see it going that way if something isn't done immediately by the front office. This is a more dire situation than I think a lot of fans realize. But anyway, we'll see you on Sunday. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.